Hi guys, so Douglas Ross, the leader of the Scottish Conservatives, was interviewed on the Andrew Marr show about Brexit. And unfortunately, Douglas had to lie, couldn't tell the truth for a change, but he had to lie about Brexit and the impact it's having on the vaccine rollout and also the impact it's having on the Scottish economy. Now, in order to avoid talking about Brexit because he knows it's a disaster, he had to talk about independence instead, even though that was not the question. The question was Brexit. But let's hear how he responded.
Has Brexit been good for Scotland?
I think Brexit has allowed us the opportunity here in Scotland to now have more than 2.8 million people vaccinated. Our outstanding NHS staff, British Armed Forces and volunteers have got these vital jabs in the arms at a far faster rate than clearly anywhere else in the European Union.
Faster than anywhere else in the European Union. Why is Douglas lying here? Because you can see here, this is from Our World in Data. It says here, on the 2nd of May 2021, Malta was at the top with 24.5%. Then we have Serbia. Then we also have the UK at 22%, followed by Hungary at 20.2%. So the UK is between Hungary and Malta, both members of the European Union. So Douglas Ross either doesn't know this or he's lying. Which is more plausible?
I think people do see that as our way out of this pandemic, and it gives us a lot more hope and optimism.
That's a fair point.
That's a fair point. How is that Andrew Marr said, in response to that, that's a fair point. Surely Andrew Marr knows that it's not a fair point. It was a lie, or it was a mistake. I really wish that the BBC would hold people like this to a higher level than they usually do. Because this is lying, or it's misinformation. Andrew Marr surely has access to this information. I have access to this information, so surely the BBC does. And they can say, I'm sorry, Douglas Ross, actually the UK is not at the top of the list. Malta is at the top of the list. Would you like to correct what you just said?
Brexit been good for the Scottish economy?
Well, we have certainly seen the biggest risk to the Scottish economy is another Scottish independence referendum, because Nicola Sturgeon has been...
That's not the question. The question was Brexit. Has Brexit been good for the Scottish economy? Of course it hasn't. Brexit has been a disaster for the Scottish economy. Now, this is from The Express. The Express is a pro-Tory, pro-Brexit newspaper. And this is a headline on Sunday, the 2nd of May. It says here, Brexit fishing row, Scotland's fisheries collapsing as fishermen warn of catastrophe. Brexit has led to chaos for Scottish fisheries as fishermen warn they are enduring a catastrophe. So Brexit has not been a success for the Scottish fishing industry.
Unable. Well, I was just saying Nicola Sturgeon has been unable to tell us what the Scottish currency would be, what the border would be between Scotland and England. We do 60% of our trade with the rest of the United Kingdom.
Notice that he, instead of actually responding to the question, he starts talking about something else. The question was Brexit. Now, it's important to remember that Douglas Ross didn't vote for Brexit in 2016. Many Scottish Conservatives did not vote for Brexit in 2016. But when the Conservative Party in Westminster decided to become the party of Brexit, well, the Scottish Conservatives had to follow suit. Remember, the Scottish Conservatives take their marching orders from Westminster. They're not independent. They actually follow whatever the Conservative Party in London decide.
Which is why it's so important we remain a strong, integral part of the United Kingdom, and all that is at risk in this election, with the SNP, by the current polls, on course to get a majority. But there's a way to stop that, and that's by voting Scottish Conservatives.
It depends how closely you listen to the Scottish Conservatives, doesn't it? Because in January you said the post-Brexit trade deal presents, and I quote, a sea of opportunity for Scottish fishermen.
A sea of opportunity. We've seen how shellfish suppliers are struggling at the moment. Some of them have closed down completely. Brexit has been a disaster. You know, you can't turn around and say, well, we're trying to fix it and we're improving. No, it's been a disaster.
What's happened to Scottish fishermen since then?
Well, there's undoubtedly been serious challenges, and I think both the Scottish...
So if there were serious challenges, then how could Brexit be a success? Brexit was sold as a success. Brexit was sold to the Scottish fishing industry as soon as we leave, everything will be great. Brexiteers, and I'm not going to hold Douglas Ross to this standard because Douglas Ross didn't vote for Brexit, but the Conservative Party as a whole were telling the fishing industry everything would be better as soon as we leave. They didn't say, look, there'll be some problems and they will eventually get over it. No, they were saying as soon as we leave, everything will be better.
Scottish and the UK governments continue to try and resolve the issues with the added bureaucracy and the delays getting our excellent products out to the European Union. But I've been speaking to fishermen throughout this campaign and there have been improvements since January, but there's still some way to go. It's
a bit more than serious problems. The Scottish Salmon Producers Organisation says that Scottish salmon farmers have incurred losses of at least £11 million, quotes, as a direct result of the changes brought about by Brexit.
Yes, and we are trying to resolve these issues.
We are trying to resolve these issues. What the hell is Douglas Ross doing to resolve this issue? If these are issues that have been created by the fact that the UK, Great Britain I should say, is now a third country, Scotland is part of that third country status, what is Douglas Ross doing to change that? I'm struggling to understand how Douglas Ross has some ability to help the Scottish fishing industry. Is he going to Brussels? Is he doing Zoom calls with Brussels to try and fix this? To get round these problems? To convince the people in Brussels, actually the UK is not a third country? What is he doing exactly? I would love to know.
It's absolutely right that we listen to the Scottish Salmon Producers Association, the Whitefish Association, the Scottish Fishermen's Federation. You know, I'm working with all of these organisations to resolve the issues that are currently facing the industry. But we know there are better times ahead as more and more quota comes back to Scottish and UK fishermen rather than being tied into the hated common fisheries policy.
This is the selling point of Brexit at the moment, is look, your industry is suffering at the moment, but don't worry, you'll be able to catch more fish in the future. Well, how well is that going? We've seen the disaster with Norway, how Norway have said, look, you're not going to be able to access our fishing waters. If the UK had actually been a member of the European Union, it would actually have access to the Norwegian fishing waters. But it decided, no, we don't want to be part of that anymore. This should be what the Labour Party or the Liberal Democrats or the SNP should be telling to the fishing community. Remember, the reason you can't access these Norwegian fishing waters is because of Brexit, is because of the actions taken by those people in Westminster. We are providing an alternative. Now, the Labour Party no, but at least the SNP are. We can rejoin the single market and the customs union. We can rejoin the European Union. This would get over this problem. This would fix this problem. Yes, it would take time. But what is the alternative? Yes, you're going to gain perhaps some extra quota in 2026. But if your problem is selling the bloody fish, quota is not the problem. Catching the fish is not the problem. Selling the fish is the problem. But now, because of Brexit as well, catching the fish has become a serious problem. You can't defend Brexit any longer. Brexit is a disaster. The only solution to Brexit is to get rid of Brexit by rejoining the single market and the customs union, joining the EEA if possible, or rejoining the European Union itself. But none of the Tories are talking about this. The Tories are talking about, yes, we're going to make some tweaks around the edges. We're working with these industries to try and get over these problems. But if the people who are deciding the rules are in Brussels, you have no power over them. You used to have power there, but you decided to give that power away. And frankly, it's quite disappointing that the BBC are not holding the likes of Douglas Ross to account. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?